My name is Leighton Searle from Microsoft, and I have the privilege of leading our data and analytics business across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And today I'm going to short talk about infusing AI into your data culture. But I'm going to do it slightly differently, and I'm going to embed into this talk 5 demos that we've created to help kind of tell this story and bring it to life for you. So it's going to be quite a fast-paced session, and we should probably jump right in. So first of all, let's start with a reflection. Can you believe it's coming up to 2 years now since ChatGPT burst onto the scene and completely changed our perceptions of AI, and frankly, the whole capabilities and our expectations of technology and software. And if I look at other similar technologies that have truly transformed how we work, how we live, and how we run our lives today, you can see the kind of growth of mobile technology, internet technology, and social media. And just reflect for a moment the type of impact that they had on your world and your business and your organization. And building on all of those technologies, you can see this near vertical growth of ChatGPT from in just 2 months to reach 100 million users. And that's why you can see the appetite for this technology is why everybody is talking about how transformative it's going to be across every experience and every facet of our lives. And there's 2 main factors for that if you break it down and think about it. And I think actually this is the most compelling, this natural language interface. So for years we've been trying to create more intuitive and natural interfaces with technologies, from the command line to Windows to the mouse and keyboard and to touch. Now we have natural language capabilities to interact with every digital experience, every software, and every surface. No longer do I need a programmer to have thought through my pathway through the software and configured it to follow that pathway. I can use natural language to communicate exactly what I want and express what I need. That combined, of course, with the reasoning engine, the large language models and the small language models, trained on a huge corpus of data, bring that situational and contextual understanding to the world around me and what we're trying to achieve. You know, we've been digitizing the world's resources for the last 20 years, creating digital copies of everything. And now these large language models have an understanding of all of those relationships, and combining those 2 things, the natural language and the huge reasoning power of generative AI, is what's driving that shift. So I have the privilege of working with many, many customers, thousands of customers all around the world. And there are 4 main patterns that we see on how, and you heard it in the previous panel, on how customers are thinking about and deploying AI. Those 4 kind of main areas that come up every single time. The first, and probably the most common in this first wave of AI, is about transforming those employee experiences. So unlocking the full value of the talent of everyone in every organization and everybody in this room. We also say a huge focus on reinventing customer engagement. With generative AI, there's the opportunity to reason over every touch point with every customer and understand their holistic relationship and their journey with your organization and with others. So a real focus on reinventing customer experiences. I'll show you a fun demo of that in a moment. A lot of value at the moment is on business process and really rethinking the business processes, and AI has a huge role to play there. And then finally, we call it bending the curve on innovation. So freeing up and experimenting with new technologies to create new business models and new revenue streams across the organization. Pretty much everything that you hear today is going to be, with AI, is going to be focused on one of those 4 areas. So a couple of quick examples to make it real, because business value is incredibly important. And these are just 4 quick examples from this kind of first wave of AI, where we see organizations applying those kind of models just to bring it to life for you a little bit. So firstly, at KPMG, what they really did was vectorize all of their operational databases and bring huge conversational insights to all of their employees. They've got an enterprise level chat experience across all of their data, because their business is about serving their consultants, serving their customers. So a 41% increase in the performance and availability of their data had a transformational effect on their employee experience. At the NHS, again with a chatbot, they were able to save 24 hours of staff time and extend a service to be 24/7. Again, their primary purpose is to serve patients and free up staff from other tasks to focus on that. Symphony AI is an SI that creates software to help financial organizations investigate fraud. And effectively what they built into their Gen AI capabilities in their software allows them to complete investigations 60 to 70% quicker with 70% less human effort. Again, their primary task, protecting their customers through their software. And then finally, the example is GM, and this is where a lot of organizations start, is with their developers. So using GitHub Copilot with their developers, and they only started this in, I think it was February 2023. Already they've seen AI doing 98% of the heavy lifting work for their developers, the structuring and the formatting of the code, which truly enables them to shift their focus on creating novel experiences and differentiation for their products. Highly competitive industry. GM need to innovate with technology as all of these organizations become technology companies. So these are real business benefits from this first wave of AI in all of these categories, just to give you a bit of an idea. So first demo I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you a kind of the latest LLM models focused on that customer experience journey. So let's have a look at Seth.
Let me ask the agent here. Hey Seth, how's it going? What can I help you with today? I am fantastic. I'm sorry, I'm in such a hurry. I'm going to go on an overnight camping hike where we're camping all this. It's going to be dark, cold. Should I use these shoes? It's the mountains. It's probably going to be cold. Great, no worries. Let me take a look. Ah, those are the Trek Star hiking sandals. While they're fantastic for summer hikes and keeping your feet cool, they might not be the best choice for cold. Oh my God, so, okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Pick the best thing that I should use, and can you just add it to my cart? Just one product. No worries. Let's go with the Trek Ready hiking boots. They're durable, provide great ankle support, and most importantly, they'll keep your feet warm in the cold mountains. I'll add them to your cart now. Oh, ready for checkout? I see that. Amazing. Muchísimas gracias. Espero que me vaya bien en el campamento. De nada, Seth. Disfruta de tu campamento y mantente caliente con esas botas. Buena suerte y diviértate en las montañas.
So it's a bit of fun, but it shows the capability of that interface and the sorts of experiences our customers are developing today. When you see that as a consumer, you might be wowed by the interruptibility of the model, the ability for to use vision to pick up your historic purchases. But as a data professional, you're probably looking at that and thinking, wow, the experiences behind that, the integration of the data, the awareness of how my organization uses data about the customer, our previous product catalogs, and understanding the kind of use cases behind everything in our product catalog, that's the kind of wow for me in that. So a recent report by Gartner, though, expressed that 87% of organizations have a very low data and analytics maturity. And as a result, 30% of these AI kind of POCs and projects are not going to make it into production. And that's largely because they don't have the solid data foundations, governance, and data culture in place in order to make those real and scalable. So that's why we're focusing on this topic today. Let's see if I can advance the slide. So these are the 4 areas, and I'm going to go, as I said, very quick with some demos for you to keep it interesting and real. But these are the 4 kind of ingredients, if you like, and I'll share a white paper at the end that goes through all of this information in detail. But we found that accessible data that users can find and explore with confidence is a fundamental underpinning of what creates this data culture to make these experiences come alive. Streamline analytics tools and the ability for teams to collaborate with those tools, to reason over a single copy of an organization's data, and to accelerate the time to insights. Super, super important. We've talked about empowering every user with data. So I'm going to talk about the data professional, but also the business user and how important that becomes. And then finally, bringing AI itself to augment the work of data professionals. So let's walk through it first step. And I'll start with how you can think about data discovery with your organization. So most organizations, your data state is going to look something like this. And feel free to extend this model however many times to the left you need to recreate your organizational picture. Data has evolved organically over time through acquisitions and different business priorities, and you get this very complicated data estate. And the first thing that CDOs and CEOs say to me is, we need help getting our data in shape. To leverage the full value of data across our business and for generative AI, we need some help. So you've got access issues, you've got compatibility issues, you've got data discovery issues. Now, of course, data lakes were the promise for this, and it's a fantastic vision. One place for all of your organizational data to live, one place to govern, one place to secure, and one place for people to access that data. Breaking down those silos and democratizing that data. The reality today, though, has been somewhat different, and that's largely because you don't actually buy a data lake. You buy storage and implement a data lake pattern on top of it, or data lake services on top of that. And it creates this huge pressure, if you like, on IT in terms of being able to get that business value out to the business at the pace with all of the different governance and quality controls that the business needs. And so therefore you end up with something perhaps a little bit more like this. Multiple data lakes across each business domain, personalized and dedicated to that particular function. And the problem with this is whilst you get great innovation and agility at the edge, each domain isn't aware of all of the other data and they can't robustly access it. So what do? We create data marts, we create cubes, we create data warehouses to enable sharing of that data. We're creating multiple copies. We're adding complexity, which reduces agility and increases cost. So, real-world technology, the first one that I'll demo for you. So, within Fabric, we've introduced OneLake. And OneLake is a SaaS data lake platform that's built into Fabric. And I'm going to use the analogy of OneDrive to make, in fact, I'm going to use the Office analogy a few times today. So the analogy for OneDrive is just when you're working in Microsoft Office, you know you've got a single place to save your data to back into OneDrive. OneDrive then enables you to share that data based on your preferences with other people and even collaborate on that data in real time. OneLake does exactly that for data. OneLake, there is only one OneLake tenant for every organization. There can never be more than one. There is only one. So it sets your organizational boundary and creates this OneLake. All of the experiences are automatically wired into OneLake, and it's going to provide those same properties, software as a service, just like OneDrive. So it's intuitive and seamless with no configuration and no setup. So then within Fabric, what you're able to do is create workspaces and domains. So look at the green boxes across the top. This is where you can distribute ownership, access, and policies to the business in the same way as we talked about with those domain-centric lakes. So you create these virtual workspaces. They can be distributed across the world in physical regions and locations where they're needed. But underneath the seams, there is one lake for the whole organization. So you can still empower the business with those policies and controls, as we said. Everything is stored in OneLake is in the Delta Parquet format. So it's open standards and it's available for any of the engines within Fabric have been tuned to read and write natively into Delta, into Parquet. And any of the data and information you bring will be tabularized in the Delta Parquet format. So that means there is no conflict between the different engines that you wish to use. You've got an open ecosystem. It's your data that you can bring the best tools and compute engines to that data. You no longer need to move that data to a separate place to use Power BI or a separate place to use data warehousing. T-SQL, Spark Experience, analytics services can all simultaneously work off one single copy of the data. And because behind the scenes this is all Delta Parquet and ADLS Gen 2, any other kind of services that can use those technologies you can benefit from as well. So the previous panel was from Databricks. Azure Databricks, a first-party Azure service. All of your data science and data engineering work in Databricks can seamlessly connect to data in OneLake and use that data to service your analytics workloads as well. The same is true of AI Studio, which I'm not going to talk about much today, but if you're developing your AI applications, again, you can look back into OneLake, single pane of glass. That data movement is super important. So if we've created these domains and workspaces, how do I stop data movement between them? The technology we use is shortcuts. So we create a virtual pointer between each of those domain-specific workspaces. So there's still one copy of data. So I can use Purview, search the data catalog, request access. When I'm granted access, I can just create a shortcut in my domain from, in HR, from sales, and etc. Those shortcuts are super, super important as well. Because for years, it's been like creating a central data platform has been like painting the Severn Bridge. As soon as you finish, you go back and start again. There's new data silos you've got to integrate. These are expensive, multi-year consolidation programs. We haven't got time or the money to do that in the pace that we work at with generative AI. So data set by data set, solution by solution, you can connect with a shortcut across any cloud. So your data could sit in Amazon S3, it could sit in GCP, it could sit on-premise. You can create a shortcut from one lake without moving that data, and it will create the Delta Parquet tables on top, so all your analytics engines can run on that as if it was natively on one lake. And we also bring that technology to databases through mirroring. So you can mirror a hot copy of that database. We actually do copy across in that case and create a mirrored copy, but we don't charge you for that copy. So that data can be reasoned over operational databases, any cloud, and the native data you bring into one lake, any compute engine, using Delta Parquet and the ADLS Gen 2 APIs. So, demo number 2. Let's bring this to life and show you how that works.
We've seen how every workload in Fabric can work with the same one copy of data when it is in one lake. But we don't always want to copy data or build and maintain complex ETL processes, especially if we have existing investments we want to leverage. Contoso Outdoors is a classic example of this. If we look at where Contoso Outdoors is storing and managing their data, you can see that they, like a lot of organizations, have data everywhere. In Snowflake, there's the customer loyalty program. Azure Databricks has the sales data. Dataverse has the customer support systems. Cosmos DB has the retail order tracking. And we can get our product inventory and our product catalog from Amazon S3 buckets. With Fabric, we're going to create a new lakehouse where we can access all of these sources in a single unified location that is always in sync to the underlying systems with zero ETL. Let's start with our data in Azure Databricks. We can create a shortcut directly to the data since Fabric natively works with the data in Delta Parquet format. I just provide the connection information, and just like that, I can now access the data through one lake in Fabric with zero data movement. I can do the same thing with Dataverse and Amazon S3, and if I jump ahead, you can see the data from each of the sources here. And you can see we've created shortcuts to more than just tables of data. We also created shortcuts to the images from our product catalog and to text documentation files for our products. We can also use these for building solutions in Fabric or for other services like Azure AI Studio, so they can access the data through one link. Next, we're going to bring in our data from Snowflake and Cosmos DB. For these sources, we're going to use Fabric's new database mirroring capability. Database mirroring automatically reflects data from Snowflake directly into OneLake and keeps it in sync with every change. This means my customer loyalty program from Snowflake can be accessed seamlessly in Fabric with zero ETL, and is always kept in sync automatically by Fabric. Once the mirroring is set up and running, my data is ready to be used across every workload in Fabric. I've also set up mirroring to Cosmos DB, and just like my Snowflake data, it's being reflected into Fabric and kept in sync and ready for me to use. Let's go back to our lakehouse. Now I have the data from all 5 different clouds, integrated in minutes into a single unified lakehouse in Fabric. With one click, I can switch to the SQL endpoint in Fabric, and I can write a single SQL query that joins data from each of the 5 different clouds, showing how I can work with all of this data in a unified way. If we switch over to the lineage view, you can see this even more clearly. We have a full view of downstream and upstream lineage, and we can see the Snowflake, Azure Databricks, Dataverse, Amazon S3, and Cosmos DB data all coming together and ready for my organization to use. For example, here we've created a machine learning model to predict demand and inventory levels for the upcoming holiday season. We also have Power BI for reporting on the data. Let's open up this report that shows order status for our loyalty program members. This report is using Power BI's direct lake mode, so all the data is always up to date, and I can slice and dice the data with blazing fast performance. Since the data is all coming from one copy in one lake, it also means we can deploy one security model for the data that flows through all these solutions. We can see the sensitivity label flowing through to every downstream artifact, along with any data level security we apply. And finally, if I switch over to the Purview Hub in Fabric, I can see a complete view of all of our data assets. This helps me understand data sensitivity, endorsement, and usage of all my Fabric items.
Okay. Awesome. So let's move on then to the tools themselves. Apparently, I need to go a bit quicker, so let's do that. This is an infographic from First Mark Capital, and it's very deliberately an eye chart. This is the leading data and AI tools and products and services in the market as of, I think it was earlier in 2023. And what it really just illustrates is the complexity and the sprawl. So just like your data has grown organically, so have the tools and systems that are used across large organizations. Many or all of these could be at use at any one time, and it creates challenges around limited interoperability, challenges with how people can work together, and the agility that you need to build these kind of new and creative experiences. A big part of that was the thinking behind Fabric. And I talked about the One Lake component, and then I'm now going to talk about the compute engines that you see across the top. Again, I'll give you a real-world example of how this works in a minute. In its simplest terms, think about Fabric a bit like Office. In Office, every application, it's a suite of applications, but every application has a purpose. Word for documents, PowerPoint for creating presentations, Excel for doing spreadsheets. The same is true as Fabric. There are common experiences across Office. The way in which you format text, the way in which you copy and share data. The user interface itself is familiar, so you can move between these experiences. And of course, as we said with OneDrive, you've got that common collaboration platform. The same is true of the SaaS services we offer in Fabric. Each tool is designed specifically for each use case, whether that's data engineering, data warehousing, ML and analytics. But it has this common user interface between them all to simplify moving between experiences. And of course, with One Lake, one copy of the data, so everybody can collaborate much more easily. A really important part about bringing AI to this, just as we bring AI to every productivity experience, we bring the Copilot to every experience within Fabric as well. So let's get straight into a next demo of Fabric with Copilot with Data Factory.
Let's take a look at how we're integrating Copilot into Data Factory to bring the power of generative AI to data preparation. Here I have some data for electric bike rentals from Contoso Outdoors, and I need to transform it and enrich it for my analysis. Of course, I could do this manually through the Power Query user experience, but let's use Copilot to get my work done even faster. In my bike trips table, I have the start and end dates for each trip. Let's begin by asking Copilot to add a new column for trip duration in minutes. And just like that, Copilot has added a step with the appropriate formula to calculate the duration of each trip. And if I want, I can rename the column just by asking as well. Now let's have Copilot add another column that groups the trip duration into categories. And this is where we see some of Copilot's real-world intelligence kick in. Copilot knew that a short bike rental is just a couple of minutes, and also set up categories for medium and long trips. But Copilot can do even more. We have the temperature when each trip took place, but it's in Fahrenheit. Let's ask Copilot to convert it to Celsius. And immediately, Copilot added the formula to do the conversion. I can even ask something like, filter out our trips on rainy days. And Copilot is smart enough to know to create a filter to only keep trips on days where there was zero precipitation. I'm going to undo that step, and now I want to use Copilot to merge a few queries. Let's switch over to the diagram view so we can see what's going on. Now I'm going to ask Copilot to create a new query that merges the trips table with the table containing our membership data. Copilot figures out that the join can be done on the member ID column, and now I can select the columns I want to include about our members alongside the trip data. And I can rename the table to trips with member info. And finally, I want to do one last step. Let's create a new query that gives me statistics for each of the bikes from the trips table. Copilot does a group by for each of the bike IDs and calculates the number of trips, average and total trip duration, and the number of unique members who rented each bike. Using Copilot to turn natural language into full data preparation and enrichment processes is a game changer for data productivity.
Okay, so we've talked about bringing the data together in One Lake, and we've talked about a suite of applications and tools powered by generative AI to support your data professionals. Now let's talk about getting that user data out into the business. So with Fabric, we spend a lot of time ensuring the experiences are well integrated, as you expect, all across the Azure platform, the Microsoft suite, but also on the right-hand side here, you see into the low-code, no-code solutions. So as you build your own low-code applications specific to your business use, they can seamlessly integrate with the data in Fabric. And also with many third-party applications, SAP, Salesforce, and Slack, and so on. So this is what it looks like. Simple example. You want to put the power of Power BI into every business team. So if I'm working in Teams and I've got my collaboration site and I'm working in the flow of my work every day, you can embed that Power BI tab very quickly, and I've got my live report right alongside where I'm doing my work. So I have the confidence, don't forget, direct late mode, working on the same data that the rest of the organization is using, and I have that directly in my workflow to build trust and integrate data into everything I do. 2 clicks, and I can bring that into PowerPoint. I'm sharing it outside of my team. Again, it's a live report, same data, same trusted source, and I can integrate that data. So one of the big learnings we have is the importance of embedding that quality data into the workflow of the business users as well. Final point then, bringing data teams and the use of generative AI in their work. I've covered copilots fairly quickly, but don't forget, this is the conversational language for every data professional to do everything from creating pipelines, writing SQL queries, or even building ML models. Let's talk about a couple of other areas. So bringing the power of Gen AI straight into the workflow of the developer, and also a new experience that's in preview, which I'm going to quickly show you as the final kind of demo. So what we did with notebooks is we've things like embedding LangChain and semantic kernel right inside of the Fabric notebook. A good example for this is a great way to describe it. I was with somebody last week, a developer, and they described a use case they had. They had multiple regions across the world. They had all their product catalog information, all in different formats, different languages in some cases. Their project required them to categorize that data in a consistent way so that they could build their analytics tools on top. What they're able to do is call the transformer straight inside their notebook. So initiate a call. I think it was GPT 3.5 Turbo in their case. Give a simple command, create data categories based on all of the data in this frame. Send that off to the transformer natively from in the workspace and get back a new table with those product categories in it. So right in the workflow, being able to call and use generative AI in the development languages that the people are already using. I'll go back one. So the final and last demo there, what I'll show then is a new capability. So if we want to make that data available to other AI applications, other use cases. You might be extending your existing organizational copilots or chatbots to have access to an understanding of your data, or you might be building a new AI application which you want to ground in and use your organizational data as well. LLMs are great at things like writing SQL queries, but what they're not good at is the last mile of understanding the nuances, the business context, how your organization uses data, what the tables actually mean. So we created AI skills for you to almost narrate your data in a way ready for those Gen AI services to come in and use it. Let's show you the demo.
So I'm going to give you a sneak peek of one of the ways you're going to be able to bring custom generative AI to your data in Fabric. Let's create a new Fabric item. I'm going to name it Loyalty Member Support Insights because what I want to create is a custom generative AI tool where I can ask questions about loyalty members and customer support cases for those members. So the first thing I'm going to do is add my data from OneLake. I can just select a lakehouse, and now I can select the specific tables I want the generative AI to have access to. And that's it. That's all the setup I need to do. And now I can start asking questions. Let's ask how many support calls we've had from loyalty members, but break it down from the source the loyalty member joined from. Now, behind the scenes, we use our AI models to generate a SQL query and give an answer. Now, this is a little different than Copilot and Power BI, because the goal here is to let you put generative AI directly on your data and then integrate it into your own custom solution. For example, giving your own custom AI solutions the ability to interact with your enterprise data. And the skill is really just focused on what it knows, which in this case is Contoso Outdoors loyalty members, data, and support cases. Let's ask another question. Who is the most recent loyalty member to make a support call? And the answer is Angelina Schlitz. This is a good answer, but I'd like it to include some supporting info. This is where I can add some notes for the model on how I want it to behave. I'm going to tell it to include some additional columns when responding about loyalty members. Now let's rerun the query. And this time the answer is bringing in the additional info. Now let's ask for all the support calls from Angelina. And here's a list of the calls. Now let's break down all of our cases by where they came from. And here's the breakdown. Now let's do one more question. Let's ask for our top 10 loyalty members. And this time it actually got it wrong. It just listed the members because it didn't know what to use for ranking them.
If I quickly look at the data that's in the table I have, I can see I have a column for lifetime spending. Let's give the model a note to use this column when asking about a top or ranking for members. And now we can get the correct answer. So finally, once I'm happy with the results, I can go ahead and publish this out. And right now in the sneak peek, it gives me an endpoint I can use to send questions to. But this is really an ideal fit for integrating this capability into other RAG-based AI orchestration options to give them access to your data in Fabric. Hopefully this has given you an idea of how you can bring custom generative AI to your data in Fabric.
Okay, so we're about at time, and you can see the journey there back to where we started, creating your AI experiences, building the data foundations, empowering the data professionals with AI so that you can create these brand new Gen AI experiences. I hope you've enjoyed the journey. It was fast, but we tried to make it real with real-world tools that you can use in your organizations today. You can get free trials of any of these here, or you can see the full white paper, which the presentation was based on, and download it here as well. We're on the stand in the middle of the floor. We'd love to see you there. Please do come and speak to me and my colleagues. But thank you all very much, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.